you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Doug Ford marched in Toronto's St. Patrick's Day Parade today, his first event as new leader of the Ontario PC Party and the first step on the road to June's election.
I look forward to defeating Kathleen Wynne and bringing prosperity back to this great province.
At a rally today, Premier Kathleen Wynne offered the new leader congratulations, but
who we are fighting against has changed, but who we are fighting for has not changed.
Ford is about as different from Wynne as you can get. As a one-time Toronto City Councillor, he was closely tied to his late brother Rob Ford's chaotic, controversial mayoralty. Like his brother, he favors simple slogans over complicated policy, the kind of plain-talking populism that attracts some voters.
He seems to be pretty good in Toronto, thinking about, like I said, the little guys.
But repels others.
It worries me a little bit. I mean, you look at what's going on south of the border. You know, I hope it's not Trump Part 2.
Former Conservative MP Paul Calandra is a provincial PC candidate who had supported Ford's rival Christine Elliott, but is now falling in behind Ford.
His method of speaking and talking to people, you know, he's a very personable person. He's straightforward, and it seems that's for sure what the people of our party wanted.
But Ford didn't have an easy ride to victory. Party members gathered last night for a vote announcement event waited hours for results before getting told to go home without any.
I ask you to please go home to await the results.
Elliott had challenged the extremely close result. She didn't concede until this evening. Still, analysts say Ford has a good chance.
Because Kathleen Wynne's government is so unpopular, Doug Ford might still be able to win the upcoming election, despite the fact that he has such high unfavorability ratings.
For many Ontarians, June's election may come down to choosing which leader they dislike the least. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
As you heard in Ron's piece, some have made comparisons with Donald Trump, but Ford and Trump are far from political clones. There are parallels and stark differences. Unlike Trump, Ford has no anti-immigration or nativist record. He's got a lot of support from visible minorities, and unlike Trump's unorthodox policies,
if that takes tariffs, let him take tariffs.
Many of Ford's could be torn from any conservative playbook going back 30 years.
Ontario will be open for business.
But just like Trump, Ford has signaled he'll be a champion of socially conservative values. For example, recently supporting restrictions on access to abortions.
I think we got to consult parents, and that's what we have to do.
Oh, we love defeating those people, don't we? Don't we love defeating them?
In terms of style and messaging, they are both candidates of mistrust. Mistrust of the media, mistrust of government.
We're going to end the government corruption, and we're going to drain the swamp.
We're going to go down there and sanitize the politically corrupt Queen's Park.
And mistrust of establishment politicians seen to serve only themselves.
I'm here to give a voice to the hardworking taxpayers of this province.
The forgotten men and women of our country.
People who have been ignored
will be forgotten no longer.
Ford understood the power of Trump's message long before Americans cast ballots in 2016.
They're tired of the Washington elites and the Washington establishment that's been running the country. So he's real. He says what a lot of people are thinking, and he's going to win.
Ford was right-hand man to Canada's last great anti-politician.
It's just lies after lies and lies, and I've called you pathological liars, and you are.
Doug Ford's late brother, Rob, world-renowned for his scandals.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine, probably in one of my drunken stupors.
Back then, Doug was Rob's bare-knuckle defender, and since then, he's cultivated the image as Rob's successor. And now that he's running for premier, politics in Ontario set to get rougher, ruder, and more unpredictable. Mike Crawley covers the Ontario legislature for us, and he was all over every twist and turn in that very late leadership announcement last night. So, Mike, I think the question most of us want to know, could Doug Ford win the election in June?
Absolutely. Look, Kathleen Wynne is right now ranked as the most unpopular premier in the country, and Doug Ford has a lot of appeal in all sorts of parts of Ontario. Look, he won this leadership race, and he taps into this kind of populism. He also has a strong campaign machinery with him. He's got smart people around him. He has an appeal beyond the Greater Toronto Area. And, Kathleen Wynne's own chief campaign strategist just said last week that Doug Ford was the candidate among the PCs that he feared the most because Liberals struggle to campaign against a populist candidate like a Doug Ford.
And break down that appeal of Doug Ford for voters. I mean, what is it exactly that he's been able to tap into with them that others haven't, at least not to the same extent?
Yeah, so when I say he's a populist, he's a true populist. You see how he deals with ordinary people on the street, people of all walks of life, people of all different skin colors. He connects with people. He doesn't talk down to people. He also, pitches himself as looking out after the little guy, as having taxpayers' interests at heart. And that's a message that resonates with a lot of folks, which is, of course, one of the words that Doug Ford likes to use. He talks to people as folks.
Right. And so substantively then, if Doug Ford wins, how different would Ontario look?
So we haven't seen a platform from him. He's talked about some of the stuff that he would do. There would have to be budget cuts in some way. He says they're spending too much money up at Queen's Park, and he's going to come in and clean things up. So where would those budget cuts come from? He's not been very specific about that. We know that he has no plan for dealing with climate change. He's against the carbon tax that would be imposed by Justin Trudeau. He would get rid of the cap-and-trade system that we have here in Ontario, brought in by Kathleen Wynne. So we don't, know specific things about health or education, but there would definitely be some cuts to government under a Doug Ford premiership.